Hi, my name is Jennifer May Reiland. I'm an artist in residence at the Queen's Museum Studio Program, but for the last month, I've been working from home because of social distancing. Scale has always been a really important aspect of my work. I sort of think of the scale I work at in two ways. First, the size of the pieces, and then the size of the figures within the pieces. So I've worked at really small scales with tiny figures. I've worked at life-size scales, and I've created pieces of work that are really small, as well as pieces of work that fill whole rooms. And I kind of think of this work as almost being like a fish, like it grows to be as large as the space that I have to create it. So of course recently I've been working at a much smaller scale, and I've been really interested in how small scale works can kind of function differently, almost as like illuminated manuscripts and devotional objects, whereas larger scale works have more of a kind of institutional feel. They're like tapestries or even like murals. For the last year in my studio, I've been working on a really large-scale series of works called Martyrs. The largest piece I've been working on, which I finished a few months ago, is 30 feet long by 5 feet tall. It's watercolor and pen on paper, so it was a really enormous work and really physically demanding as well as mentally demanding. I actually had to come up with different strategies on how to work on it physically because it was such a large piece. I made a big pillow so I could lie down on top of it and paint. And then I would also work on it vertically, so I worked on kind of strategies for working on it in different ways. The large scale piece I was working on in my studio for most of last year depicted kind of a personal pantheon of martyrs in my own life, both secular and religious, from well-known Christian martyrs like St. Catherine, St. Ursula, who was martyred with 11,000 virgins and was a really popular saint in the Middle Ages before being denied by the Catholic Church more recently. Also secular martyrs like Princess Diana, who I've kind of come to view as fulfilling this cultural role of martyrdom. And I was raised in a religious setting, Protestant setting, where there was a lot of belief in the end times and the apocalypse, and this kind of desire to be martyred during the end times. So this piece is also kind of confronting that desire to be martyred. But for the past month, I've been really exploring working at a different scale. Because I've been at home, I've been returning to an earlier mode of work. When I was younger, before I had a dedicated studio space, I mostly worked at a really small scale. So I've really been revisiting that scale and trying to create small scale works of art that are exploring some of the same questions as my larger works of art. I've most recently been working on a series called Vanitas. It's taking off from a genre of European painting that was really popular in the 17th century. There was contrasting kind of the beauty and pleasures of life with the reality of mortality. So I've been working on a series of small scale pieces that explore these ideas. As this situation goes on with the COVID self-isolation, it's been affecting my work in really obvious ways, like working smaller, and also in terms of the subjects I'm focusing on, and kind of my interest in the subject of the vanitas. The vanitas became really popular in European art around the last resurgence of bubonic plague that was really big in Europe in the 1660s. there, following the 1660s, there weren't. The incidences of bubonic plague really declined in Europe. So these pieces kind of spoke about the fragility of life and the fear of death, but also the joy of being alive at a time when mortality was really felt very present.